Your soulmate is already married, but the real story behind that marriage is not what you think. Before you allow disappointment, anger, or fear to take over, pause for a moment because there is something your soulmate has been hiding, something they have never fully explained to anyone. From the outside, their life may look settled. People may believe they are committed, comfortable, and completely unavailable. They may appear to have built a normal life with another person. Photographs may show smiles, conversations may sound ordinary, family members may speak as though everything is stable, but behind those appearances, your soulmate has been living inside a truth they no longer know how to ignore. Their marriage is not the simple love story people assume it is. And recently, something happened that forced them to finally face what they have been avoiding. My child, pause for a second. Your soulmate did not wake up one day and decide to betray someone. They did not plan to develop feelings outside their marriage. In fact, when they first noticed their connection with you, they tried desperately to deny it. They told themselves it was only emotional comfort. They said you were simply someone who understood them. They believed the feelings would disappear if they created enough distance, but they did not disappear. The more your soulmate tried to avoid you, the more clearly they understood what your presence was awakening inside them. You reminded them of a version of themselves they had forgotten, a version that could speak honestly, a version that could feel excitement without guilt, a version that did not have to perform happiness to keep everyone else comfortable. That terrified them because your soulmate had spent years learning how to survive inside a marriage that looked stronger from the outside than it felt on the inside. At the beginning, the marriage may have contained hope. There may have been real affection, shared dreams, promises, moments when both people believed they could build something lasting. This is important. Your soulmate is not trying to erase the past or pretend nothing real ever existed. They do not want to turn their spouse into a villain simply to justify their own feelings. But over time, the marriage changed. Small disappointments became silence. Silence became emotional distance. Emotional distance became a way of life. They stopped speaking about the things that truly mattered. They discussed responsibilities, bills, family obligations, schedules, necessary decisions. But the deeper conversations slowly disappeared. Your soulmate began feeling lonely while sitting beside another person. And that kind of loneliness is difficult to explain. It is not the loneliness of having no one around. It is the loneliness of feeling unseen by the person who is supposed to know you best. My child, pause for a second. For a long time, your soulmate blamed themselves. They believed they were asking for too much. They thought perhaps emotional closeness was unrealistic. They told themselves, every marriage becomes quiet eventually. They tried to be grateful. They focused on what was working. They ignored what was missing. But ignoring emptiness does not make it disappear. It only teaches the heart to suffer silently. Then you entered their life. Perhaps the connection began casually. A conversation, a meeting, a message, something ordinary. Your soulmate did not expect you to become important, but you noticed things. You noticed when they were tired. You noticed when they used humor to hide discomfort. You noticed the difference between their polite smile and their real one. You asked questions no one had asked them in years. Not invasive questions, honest ones. What do you actually want? Are you happy? When was the last time you felt understood? Those questions remained in their mind long after the conversations ended. Your soulmate began comparing how they felt around you to how they felt inside their marriage. They hated themselves for doing it. They tried to stop. They created distance. They became inconsistent. One day they were warm and open. The next day they disappeared. You may have believed they were playing with your emotions, but inside they were fighting a battle they did not know how to win. They cared about you. They also felt responsible for the life they had already built. They did not want to cause pain. They did not want to destroy a family. They did not want to be judged as selfish. So they remained silent. But silence created pain anyway. It hurt you. It hurt them. And it allowed the truth inside the marriage to remain hidden. Recently, something changed. Your soulmate spouse confronted them. Not because they found a romantic message. not because they caught your soulmate meeting you secretly. They noticed the emotional distance. They noticed that your soulmate had become quieter. They noticed that they were physically present, but mentally somewhere else. One evening, the spouse asked a question your soulmate had been avoiding for years. "Are you still happy with me?" Your soulmate wanted to lie. The old answer was already prepared. "Of course, I am just tired. Work has been difficult. Everything is fine." But this time, the clear's throat words would not come. The silence lasted too long. Their spouse understood. Then came the second question. "Is there someone else?" Your soulmate felt their heart stop. They could have denied it. Technically, they may not have crossed a physical boundary. They may never have promised you anything. They may never have called the connection a relationship. But emotionally, the answer was complicated. You had become someone they thought about, someone whose absence affected them, someone they imagined speaking to when life felt unbearable. Your soulmate did not want to insult their spouse with a simple lie. So they told a partial truth. They said there was someone who had made them question what they were missing. Their spouse became angry, then hurt, then very quiet. Your soulmate expected screaming, accusations, threats. Instead, the spouse said something shocking. "I have known for a long time that this marriage was over emotionally." Your soulmate stared at them. They did not understand. The spouse admitted they had also been unhappy. They had noticed the distance years earlier. They had remained because leaving felt too complicated, family pressure, finances, children, perhaps social expectations, fear of starting over. The spouse said they had both been pretending, not because they wanted to deceive each other, because the truth felt too disruptive. My child. Pause for a second. This was not the confrontation your soulmate expected. They expected to be blamed completely. Instead, both people were forced to admit that the marriage had been failing long before you appeared. Your connection did not create every problem. It exposed problems that were already there. Still, your soulmate knows this does not automatically make everything simple. Feelings are not permission to act without responsibility. A failing marriage still contains real people, real history, real consequences. Your soulmate understands that. That is why they have been so conflicted. They do not want to leave one relationship and immediately run toward another. They do not want you to become an escape. They do not want to place the weight of their marriage on your shoulders. But they also know they cannot continue pretending that their heart is unaffected. After the confrontation, your soulmate and their spouse spoke for hours. Perhaps for the first time in years, they were completely honest. The spouse admitted there had been emotional distance on both sides. They admitted they had stopped trying. They also revealed something your soulmate never knew. Years ago, the spouse had considered leaving. They had even spoken to someone about separation, but a family member convinced them to stay. They were told your soulmate could not handle the humiliation. They were warned that ending the marriage would create financial problems. They were encouraged to maintain appearances, so they stayed. Your soulmate realized both of them had been living inside decisions influenced by outside voices. Neither person had chosen honesty, they had chosen fear. Then the spouse asked who you were. Your soulmate did not reveal every private detail. They protected your identity at first, but they described the connection. They said you made them feel seen. They said speaking with you reminded them that emotional honesty was still possible. They admitted that they had developed real feelings. Their spouse listened. Then they asked a painful question. Do you love them? Your soulmate became silent again. This time they did not run from the answer. They said yes, not loudly, not proudly, with tears, with guilt, with honesty. The spouse cried too. But then they said something your soulmate never expected. I think I have been waiting for you to admit that you wanted a different life. That sentence changed everything. The spouse was not giving permission for betrayal. They were acknowledging that both people had been trapped inside a marriage neither knew how to end. Your soulmate expected the truth to cause immediate destruction. Instead, it created the first honest conversation the marriage had experienced in years. They discussed separation. Not revenge, not sudden abandonment, a responsible process, time, counseling, financial planning, family conversations, boundaries. Your soulmate made one thing clear. They would not begin a secret relationship with you while pretending to repair the marriage. They did not want to use you. They did not want to make promises before they had handled their current responsibilities. But they also did not want to lose you because they were afraid to explain what was happening. That is why they are preparing to speak to you. My child, pause for a second. Your soulmate knows you may not trust them. You may wonder whether the marriage is really ending or whether they are only unhappy temporarily. You may fear becoming the person who waits while they continue choosing comfort. Those fears are valid. Your soulmate understands that words will not be enough. They know they need to show change through action. Clear boundaries, honest decisions, responsible steps, no hidden meetings, no emotional manipulation, no asking you to save them. They want to tell you the truth without demanding an immediate answer. They want you to decide whether you are willing to remain in contact while they handle the situation properly. They are prepared for you to say no. That possibility terrifies them. But for the first time, they would rather face an honest answer than continue living inside emotional uncertainty. However, the real story becomes more complicated. During the conversation with their spouse, an old photograph appeared. The spouse had been searching for documents connected to the marriage. Inside a box, they found a picture from many years ago. Before the wedding, before your soulmate believed they had ever met you, the photograph showed your soulmate at a family gathering, and in the background, there you were, younger, standing near someone connected to the spouse's family. Your soulmate stared at the image. They recognized you immediately, but they had no memory of that day. They asked their spouse where the photograph came from. The spouse became uncomfortable. At first they said they did not know. Then they admitted the photograph had belonged to an older relative. Your soulmate asked why you were there. The spouse said both families had known each other once. Not closely, but enough for your paths to have crossed. Then your soulmate noticed writing on the back 2 names. Yours and theirs. Beside the names was a date, and underneath it, 1 sentence. Keep them apart until the agreement is complete. Your soulmate felt cold. What agreement? Why were your names written together years before the marriage? And who had decided the 2 of you needed to be kept apart? The spouse became frightened. They said they had never seen the writing before. They insisted they did not know what it meant. Your soulmate believed part of that answer, but not all of it. Because the spouse recognized the handwriting, it belonged to the person who had strongly encouraged the marriage years ago. A relative who insisted your soulmate and their spouse were perfect together. A person who discouraged your soulmate from asking questions about the past. A person who recently warned them not to contact you. Now your soulmate understands that their marriage may have been influenced by more than love and family expectation. Someone may have wanted the marriage to happen because it kept your soulmate away from you, but why? The answer may be connected to an old financial arrangement between families. A promise, a property matter, a secret that could only remain hidden as long as you and your soulmate never compared stories. Your soulmate does not know the full truth yet. They are not trying to create a fantasy where the marriage was completely fake. Real years were lived. Real choices were made, but someone may have influenced those choices for reasons no one understood. Your soulmate is now searching through old messages, photographs, and documents. They found one more thing, a letter written shortly before the wedding. It was addressed to your soulmate, but never delivered. The opening line said, "Before you marry, you deserve to know why the person you truly connected with was removed from your life." Your soulmate's hands shook while reading. The letter continued, but several pages were missing. Only the final sentence remained. When they return, the marriage will no longer be able to protect the secret. My child, pause for a second. Your soulmate is already married. That truth is real. The responsibility is real. The pain involved is real, but the story behind the marriage may be far more complicated than anyone admitted. Your soulmate is not about to run towards you recklessly. They are preparing to handle the situation honestly. They are speaking with their spouse. They are considering separation carefully. They are gathering evidence, and they are preparing to tell you everything, not to force you into their life, to give you the truth you were always denied. Their message is almost ready. It begins. I need to tell you something difficult. I am married, but my marriage has not been what it appears to be for a long time. Something happened today, and I finally understand why I was always afraid to speak to you. They are about to send it. But before they can, the relative connected to the old photograph contacts them. The message contains one warning. Do not tell them about the letter. They do not know what their family did. Your soulmate stares at the screen. Now, the secret is no longer only connected to their marriage, it is connected to your family too. Someone believes the truth could change the way you see the people closest to you. For a moment, your soulmate considers staying silent. Then they remember what silence has already created. A marriage built on avoidance. A connection filled with confusion. Years of decisions made by people who believed they had the right to control the truth. Your soulmate presses send. The message is moving toward you. Now, when you open it, you will not only learn that they are married, you will learn that the marriage may have been encouraged to keep two families from uncovering an old agreement. You will learn that your soulmate spouse already knows the relationship is ending emotionally. You will learn that your soulmate confessed their love for you during the most honest conversation of their marriage. And you will learn that someone has been protecting a secret since before either of you understood this connection. The real story will shock you because your soulmate's marriage may not be the reason you were kept apart. It may have been the method used to keep you apart. And now that the truth is beginning to surface, everyone involved knows the old arrangement cannot remain hidden much longer. Your soulmate is preparing to face the consequences. Their spouse is preparing to reveal what they know. The missing pages of the letter are still somewhere, and one person connected to your family is already trying to find them before you do. This is no longer only a love story. It is a story about responsibility, fear, manipulation, a marriage that survived because no one spoke honestly, and a connection that returned because the truth refused to stay buried. Your soulmate is married. But tonight, for the first time, they have stopped hiding behind that fact. They are ready to tell you what the marriage became, why it continued, who benefited from it, and what happened years ago when someone decided that you and your soulmate could never be allowed to choose each other freely. The message has been sent. The truth is waiting. And once you open it, nothing about this connection will ever look the same again. You read the message 3 times before you replied. Every sentence felt heavier than the last. Your soulmate had finally admitted the truth. They were married. Their marriage had been emotionally broken for years. Their spouse already knew they had fallen in love with someone else, and hidden behind all of it was a mystery that seemed to reach back long before the wedding itself. Your fingers hovered over the keyboard. Hundreds of questions filled your mind, but only one escaped. Can we meet and talk honestly? Your soulmate answered almost immediately. Yes. No more secrets. No more hiding. No more allowing other people to write our story. My child, pause for a second. Sometimes the hardest conversation is not the first one. It is the conversation that happens after the truth has already been spoken. Because now there are no excuses left. Only choices. Your soulmate arrived early. They looked different, not because their appearance had changed, because the weight they had carried for years was finally visible. The moment you saw them, you noticed something unusual. They were no longer trying to impress you. No rehearsed smile. No pretending. Everything was under control. Only honesty. For several seconds, neither of you spoke. Finally, your soulmate broke the silence. Thank you for coming. You answered softly. Thank you for finally telling me the truth. Your soulmate lowered their eyes. I should have told you much sooner. You nodded. Yes, you should have. There was no anger in your voice, only disappointment, and somehow that hurt your soulmate even more. They admitted something they had never confessed to anyone. For months, they convinced themselves that protecting you meant staying away. They believed if they ignored their feelings, eventually they would disappear. Instead, every day made them stronger. Every attempt to forget you only made your absence louder. They said there were nights when they opened your old messages simply to remember what it felt like to speak with someone who truly understood them. Yet every morning they closed the conversation again, believing silence was the only responsible choice. My child, pause for a second. Real guilt does not usually sound defensive. It sounds quiet. It accepts responsibility instead of searching for excuses. That is exactly what your soulmate was doing. Then they reached into their bag. They placed something on the table. The old photograph, the one they discovered inside the forgotten box. You picked it up carefully. For the first time, you looked beyond your soulmate. Behind both of you stood several adults. One face immediately caught your attention. Your heartbeat became faster. You recognized them. Not clearly, not completely, but enough to feel something deep inside your memory trying to wake up. You whispered one sentence. I think I've seen this person before. Your soulmate looked surprised. They asked where. You closed your eyes. Fragments appeared. An old house. A wooden gate. Children laughing. Someone calling your name. Then everything disappeared again. The memory refused to become complete. Your soulmate gently turned the photograph over. The writing remained exactly as before. Keep them apart until the agreement is complete. You traced the handwriting with your finger. Something about it felt familiar. Not because you recognized the words, because you recognized the way certain letters were written. Suddenly, another memory appeared. A birthday card years ago. The same handwriting. Someone in your own family had written exactly like that. You froze. My child, pause for a second. Sometimes memories do not return all at once. They return through details, a smell, a photograph, a familiar style of handwriting. One small clue can unlock an entire chapter that was hidden for years. You quietly told your soulmate whose handwriting you believed it was. They became completely silent. That name matched something they had discovered only the previous night. They slowly removed another document from the folder. It was a photocopy of an old family letter. The signature at the bottom belonged to the very same person. Neither of you spoke. The connection was becoming impossible to ignore. Someone from your own family had known about your soulmate long before either of you believed your paths crossed. But why? Your soulmate finally revealed another truth. After leaving home that morning, they had spoken with their spouse one final time before meeting you. The conversation had changed everything. Their spouse admitted they had found another hidden box in the attic. Inside were old legal papers, newspaper clippings, family correspondence, and one sealed envelope labeled, "Open only if they ever find each other again." Your soulmate had not opened it. Instead, they brought it with them. They placed the sealed envelope beside the photograph. Your hands trembled. The envelope looked old, very old. The paper had turned yellow. The wax seal was cracked with age. Across the front were two names, yours and your soulmate's, not separately. Together, my child. Pause for a second. Imagine discovering a letter written before your relationship even existed. A letter addressed to both of you before either of you knew the other. Some truths cannot be explained by coincidence alone. Your soulmate asked quietly, "Should we open it?" You nodded carefully. They broke the remaining seal. Inside was a handwritten letter. The handwriting belonged to an elderly relative who had passed away years earlier. The first sentence made both of you stop breathing. If this letter has reached you, then our greatest fear has finally come true. You continued reading. The letter explained that decades earlier, both families had shared ownership of a successful business. Not just business partners, close friends, almost relatives. Then money disappeared, important documents vanished, accusations followed. The friendship collapsed overnight. Neither family trusted the other again. Children were told different versions of the same story. Future generations inherited anger without understanding its origin. The letter continued. Years later, when both of you were children, Some elders secretly hoped the friendship could be restored through your generation. That was why both families attended the same gathering. That was why you met. That was why the photograph existed. The adults believed your innocent friendship could become a symbol of reconciliation. But before that hope could grow, someone intervened. False evidence appeared. New accusations were made. The reconciliation ended before it truly began. Your soulmate looked at you with tears in their eyes. Neither of you remembered any of it. The letter explained why. After the gathering, everyone agreed never to speak about the event again. Photographs disappeared, names stopped being mentioned. Children naturally forgot what adults refused to repeat. But one sentence near the end changed everything. The marriage was arranged sooner than expected because someone feared they would meet again naturally. You both looked at each other. Neither of you needed to ask the question aloud. Was the marriage influenced? Was someone afraid that your soulmate choosing another path would expose the past? The letter did not answer completely. Instead, it said, not everyone involved knew the real reason. Some believed they were protecting honor. Others believed they were protecting wealth. Only one person knew the complete truth. My child, pause for a second. The deeper you search into hidden stories, the more you realize not everyone lies for the same reason. Some lie from greed, some from fear, some because they inherited secrets they never questioned. Your soulmate suddenly remembered something. The letter mentioned an old watchmaker's shop, a place where the missing business records were supposedly hidden before the family separated. Your soulmate recognized the address. The building still existed. Although abandoned for years, neither of you planned to visit immediately. Too much had already happened. Instead, you decided to photograph every page of the letter. Just as you finished, your soulmate's phone rang. It was their spouse. Your soulmate answered. The conversation lasted less than 2 minutes. When they returned, their face had completely changed. Their spouse had searched the attic again. Another box had been discovered. Inside were wedding planning documents, guest lists, old invitations, and one page that should never have existed. It was titled, Marriage Timeline Adjustment. Your soulmate frowned adjustment. The spouse explained that several dates connected to the wedding had been deliberately changed. The wedding was originally planned almost a year later. Someone insisted it happened immediately instead. The document contained handwritten instructions. Do not delay. The other family has started asking questions again. Your soulmate felt sick. The marriage had not simply happened earlier by chance. Someone wanted it accelerated. Someone believed time was running out. Someone feared another meeting. My child, pause for a second. Until now, your soulmate believed they had made every important decision freely. Now they were discovering that many choices surrounding the marriage had been quietly influenced by people operating behind the scenes, not forcing, guiding, suggesting, creating urgency. Exactly the same way they later manipulated your connection. The pattern was identical. You suddenly remembered something yourself. Years ago, before you first became close to your soulmate, a relative unexpectedly discouraged you from accepting an invitation to an event. They insisted it would only waste your time. You stayed home. Later, you discovered your soulmate had attended that very gathering. If you had gone, your paths would have crossed years earlier. You told your soulmate they stared at you because someone had given them similar advice that same week. Don't attend. Nothing important will happen there. At the last minute, they ignored the advice and attended anyway. You did not. The pattern became undeniable. Every time life tried bringing both of you together, someone quietly redirected one of you. Not dramatically, just enough to miss each other.